Carbonite Jedi, where the Force will be with you always. In today's video, I found an article on ScreenRant.com which talks about how to watch Star Wars movies in order. Well, I'm going to read and show you what certain people think, which order you should watch them in, and then I will give my opinion and I'll tell you which ones you should watch them in, because I know what I'm talking about. Anyway, on ScreenRant.com, here it is. It says how to watch Star Wars movies in order. So you can watch them in chronological order or by release date. And it says, here's the best way to watch Star Wars movies in order. There's a sense in which Star Wars has always been told out of order. The opening crawl for The Empire Strikes Back introduced the idea it was actually episode 5, confirming George Lucas had dropped viewers in partway through the story he intended to tell. He wrapped up the original trilogy and only returned to tell the prequels decades later. Lucas set a pattern that Star Wars has stuck to ever since, the movies and TV shows hopping around the timeline with impunity. This naturally means everyone has their own opinion on the best way to watch Star Wars in order. Mark Hamill prefers a viewing order based on release order, for example, while others tend to choose an in-universe chronological order. There is even more debate over whether to integrate the ever-expanding range of Star Wars TV shows into the mix. Here's the best way to watch Star Wars. And the best Star Wars viewing order, an unusual approach that maintains many of the key surprises. The best Star Wars viewing order is a little more creative, though. In 2011, Rod Hilton proposed the so-called machete order. This is an innovative attempt to create a viewing order that preserved the sense of surprise in many original trilogy twists, notably the revelation that Luke Skywalker is Anakin's son. The machete order was flawed from the outset. Hilton had no love for Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, and so he skipped it, even though it's an essential part of the saga. But the best Star Wars viewing order nonetheless borrows from this and goes a step further, integrating the sequel trilogy and Lucasfilms. And so we have Rogue One, a Star Wars story, Star Wars Empire Strikes Back, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, Return of the Jedi, Solo, a Star Wars story, Star Wars The Force Awakens, Star Wars The Last Jedi, Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. The pros: this Star Wars viewing order uses Rogue One, the Star Wars story, as a prologue, setting up the Death Star and Darth Vader. It is only after The Empire Strikes Back revelation that it reveals Darth Vader was telling the truth, and the parallels between Anakin and Luke add narrative suspense to Return of the Jedi. George Lucas always claimed Star Wars is like poetry in that it rhymes. This Star Wars viewing order helps reveal the rhyme scheme, allowing viewers to spot the pattern. Solo, a Star Wars story, is used as a palate cleanser after the original trilogy before moving into the sequels. The cons: the main problem with the Star Wars viewing order is the loss of momentum after The Empire Strikes Back. While most of the reveals are preserved, there is one that loses all suspense of surprise. Leia's relationship to Luke is revealed in the final scenes of Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. The placement of Solo, a Star Wars story, feels a little arbitrary, but nonetheless works in ensuring viewers have as strong a link to Han Solo as possible before Star Wars The Force Awakens. Now, we're going to talk about Mark Hamill's suggestion. Mark Hamill recommends viewing order in release order. This means viewers will begin with the Star Wars original trilogy before stepping back in time for the prequels. And finally, heading to the more recent sequel trilogy, the Star Wars viewing order has the benefit of preserving the sense of surprise around specific revelations, simulating the reactions of the original audience. The anthology movie Rogue One, a Star Wars story, and Solo, a Star Wars story, both present valuable backstory on the ideas and characters in the original trilogy. Which, maybe Rogue One, but not really Solo. So Mark Hamill says Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, The Force Awakens, Rogue One, a Star Wars story, The Last Jedi, Solo, A Star Wars Story, and The Rise of Skywalker. The pros: there's a reason Mark Hamill prefers watching Star Wars by release order. It's simple and effective. It preserves many of the key twists, so anyone watching this who's not already spoiled on major twists will be taken aback when they happen. Cons: watching Star Wars in release order can be a little frustrating simply because the story tends to jump around the timeline quite a bit. It's clearly not how George Lucas himself intended it, but given he views the prequels as the first 3 chapters of his saga, more recent releases become even more difficult to navigate, with the sequels interspersed with fairly random steps back in time. So, those are 2 different ideas on how you can watch Star Wars. My idea of watching Star Wars, which I think is really good, is you watch Rogue One. So Rogue One came out in 2016. Rogue One, I've only seen it once or twice. It's a lot of people love this movie. I think it was great, and it makes me sad that everybody has to die. I don't know, it just does. I mean, I wish they could have made it, but then that would have like totally killed the arc, because there they would have been when they were supposed to have died. Anyway, so Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, should be number 1. That tells the Death Star, the whole prequel to the Death Star, and a little bit of Darth Vader, which is awesome. Then we should start off with, after that, Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. And then you go to The Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith. The reason I do it that way is because if you were to start off with Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, by the time you got to Revenge of the Sith, and then you went to Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and Revenge of the Sith, it always already shows you who Luke and Leia is. And that's the whole like plot twist right there in Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back. And then Return of the Jedi, or the end of Empire Strikes Back, you find out Darth Vader is Luke's father. And then in Return of the Jedi, you find out that Leia is Luke's sister. And it would totally ruin it if you watched the prequels first. Now, if you're wanting to watch all the movies, then you should start off with, after Revenge of the Sith, you should start off after that with The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and The Rise of Skywalker. And I actually don't think with Solo it adds anything to the series. I mean, it's just like a side story that can stand on its own, and it doesn't really add anything that was missing out of the original 9 movies. So, well, especially the first 3: Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. I didn't really I like Solo. I liked it a lot. I thought it was a good movie on its own, but to put it in the prequels or put it in the series, it didn't really need to be there, I don't think. Sort of like some of the storylines in The Last Jedi or The Rise of Skywalker. I mean, half that was filled with storylines that they could have just taken out and put some more substance in character development in it, instead of trying to create these storylines for these other actors who didn't really add anything to the movie. So that was my opinion on that. I'd love to hear your opinion. I hope I didn't make too many people mad, but that's just how I feel. I'm one of those old school purists when it comes to Star Wars. My heart always beats with Star Wars Return of the Jedi, or Star Wars Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. I deal with a lot of people who were 2000 kids who like you know, the Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith. I mean, they love Revenge of the Sith. Sort of like my era loves The Empire Strikes Back. But that's just how I am, because I remember going really young to the movies and seeing, you know, the original 3 that came out. So yeah, tell me what you would use or how you would set up your watch time for Star Wars if you had to tell somebody how to watch Star Wars movies in order who had never seen them before. Let me know how you would do it. It'd be interesting to see. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and may the Force be with you always.